I yelled at my mother, sister, and father over their comment about my dress at a family wedding. Because of my illness, the dress didn't look the way I wanted it to. This is so stupid. Backstory for context. I 41 female have always been a chesty woman. Since I was 13, I have been a DD cup. PCOS will do that to you. It comes with hormone changes, weight gain, rapid growth of facial hair during puberty. After discovering an ovarian cyst the size of a softball was removed, I went from being flat-chested to looking like an adult film star over a few months. I can't help I developed so quickly. Anyway, my mother and father thought they could try and hide it with turtlenecks and baggy clothes. Where you would see teens wearing cute outfits, I looked like a wannabe nun, covered from head to toe to hide my body. As I grew up, it got worse. I get asked to dances and my parents would buy me dresses that covered me from neck to toes. I swear my claustrophobia was at an all-time high living in that house. Because of this, I also developed depression, so at this point, I didn't care what I looked like and ate a lot. To cope with everything that was going on in my life, I gained weight, a lot of it, and of course that was just another thing for my parents to complain about. Speed forward to now. I'm all grown up now and living on my own. For the past 20 years, I have worked on myself and my mental health to the point I lost 182 pounds. I went from a size 26 to a size 10 to 12, depending on the style of clothing, and got my hormones in check. You'd think my family would be happy for me, right? Wrong. I got invited to my cousin's wedding a couple months ago. I went out and bought a dress for the occasion because why not? I never buy things for myself, and I wanted to feel good on this day. I bought a beautiful blush pink dress with a sweetheart neckline and 2 of 3 sleeve with a lace overlay on top. It was the prettiest thing ever and only showed a little of my cleavage. As soon as I walk into the venue, my mother and father waved me over to their seats so I could sit with them. As soon as I sat down, my father decided it would be the perfect time to tell me while I looked nice, it would be better if I would cover up with a wrap or something. I looked at my mother, and she is clutching her imaginary pearls and instantly agreed with my father. Like me, showing an inch or two of cleavage was the end of the world. I ignored them because I was raised better than to raise my voice in a church. After the ceremony, I walked away and didn't say a word. I congratulated my cousin and her husband on the way out. About to head to the reception. And soon as I get in my car with the love of my life, I hear my phone blowing up with I glance at the screen and see both my father, mother, and even my sister texting me options of wraps I could borrow for the reception. I sighed and said I don't need one because it's 84 degrees and I am already sweating in what I have on. They all respond with, well, if you knew how to dress yourself, then we wouldn't have to help you. That's when I lost it. I texted back, you all realize I am 41 years old, I can dress myself right. I know me being big-chested must be so bad for you, since I'm the one who has to live with them, and has lived with them for over 20 years. This is my body, and I will wear what I want where I want. Stop trying to police my outfit. You bitched and blamed me when I was heavier, and now that I feel good in my own skin, you want to tear me down more. I'm done. I will see you at the reception, and if any of you tries to cover me up to save face, I will not hesitate to cut you all off. I turned my phone off and had my boyfriend drive us to the reception. He was so proud of me for standing up to my parents that we might have taken a detour to a secluded beach and made out for an hour. Anywho, once we got to the reception, my cousin and aunt pulled me to the side and scolded me for sending my parents the message I sent. I explained to them that they have been policing my clothing for decades, and I'm done with it. I'm an adult, and I can decide what's appropriate and what's not. My aunt understood, but my cousin said she isn't taking sides and wished I hadn't started drama on her day. I told my cousin if she was so concerned with drama, then maybe she needed to go talk to my parents and tell them to stop telling people how I upset them. So Reddit, am I the whole? Edit to add. Some people in the comments were shocked about the dress color choice. The theme was 2 shades of pink. Just envision the wedding scene from Steel Magnolias, a blush pink and dusty rose shade of pink. And to add, my aunt, who also had PCOS and was rather large-chested herself before she got a reduction, finally understood where I was coming from. My mother was even wearing the same shade of pink as myself. So the cousin was not mad about the pink color dress, she was just upset that I upset my parents and sister. The only other person who was on my side and didn't see a problem with my outfit was my brother. The rest of the reception, my brother and boyfriend were playing defense, keeping my parents and sister away from me the rest of the night. There's a whole other backstory behind why I have a strained relationship with my family, but I'll probably make an update on that one at some point. I do want to discuss things with my family, I am just not sure how to start. I don't know if I should go in guns blazing or gently bring it up so they don't feel like I am attacking them. I just want my voice to be heard. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, I don't think you did anything wrong. The only thing different I would have done is not sit with them. I would keep our conversation short if you have to see your parents, but other than that, I would go low or no contact. But that's just me. Opie says, I've been low contact for 20 years since I moved out. I only see them on special occasions. Over the last few years, I've been trying to reconnect, but it just ends the same way. So I stick to holidays and weddings or funerals to interact. Commenter 2 says, not the asshole. And ditto on cousin to call out your family instead of trying to lay blame on you for starting drama after you explain the source of it. That makes me think she shares internalized big tatas or scandalizing like your parents and sister. Just speculating on you cousin's take as an outsider, of course, but her mom or your aunt even understood or sympathies your situation, so. Edit. My mind also overthinking that your cousin, not taking sides means, I don't want one less wedding gift. Opie replied, right as of right now, I am low to no contact with the cousin as well after her scolding. My aunt had the same issue growing up with PCOS and larger breasts before she got a reduction. It is what it is, so I won't cut the aunt off, but everyone else who tells me to cover up, I have no qualms cutting people off. Commenter 3 says, not the asshole. Look them dead in the eye and ask, why have you been obsessed with your daughter's breasts for 25 years? And say literally nothing else, raising my voice each time they stopped. If people don't understand what causing a scene is, show them. It's gross that they are doing this. Opie replied, I understand when I was younger they didn't want people sexualizing me, but at 41 years old, come on. It's ridiculous if you ask me. How old are Opie's parents? 80s? Opie replied, close enough, they are in their 70s now. Opie should be proud of herself for standing up for herself to her family. Opie says, I love sister. I'll be using that from now on. And I agree, I honestly think my cousin secretly likes drama and wanted it to continue, but she had to be diplomatic in the moment, but her annoyance should have 1000% been at my parents, not me. It took years for me to finally stand up for myself. This isn't the first time I was made to be the bad guy in situations. When I lost the 182 pounds, I was told not to talk about it with people in front of my mom because she was insecure and hurt. So if anyone asked me how I did it, I just had to say, I will text you about it later, Commenter 4 says. Not the asshole, but your parents and sister are. Good for you for standing up to them, finally. Be proud of yourself and your body. That is what makes you beautiful inside and out. Opie replied, I had a feeling they were going to rope my sister into this. She's their golden child, smart, beautiful, has the golden ticket grandchildren. I just wish they saw me for me and not as an accessory they can pick and choose to have around. Commenter 5 says, not the asshole. Good for you for standing your ground. Your parents and sister suck. Also, what an amazing partner and brother you have to defend you and stand up for you. After explaining, I'm glad your aunt is on your side. Also, I get that bride is upset, but she's upset at the wrong person. She should be upset at your parents and sister, not you. How did she even know? Unless your parents or sister said something. Opie replied, from what I was told by my brother, the first thing my parents did walking into the reception was show him the text I sent trying to get a reaction out of him. He told my parents that's what I said wasn't wrong. They even tried to put a wrap on my chair that I was assigned. He grabbed it and threw it in his car before I showed up. When he didn't react like they wanted, that's when they pulled the bride to the side asking her to intervene on their behalf, which then got my aunt involved. I showed them my text response, and that's when my aunt got on my side and the cousin was confused about the whole thing. Update 1. On Saturday, I contacted my brother and sister to talk about what happened a few months ago at the wedding. My sister was hesitant but agreed, and my brother was all in and said he'd be there. We met up at my sister's place and sat down. I started off the conversation that I love my family and would never insult them in any way, but for a 41-year-old woman to be reprimanded over a dress that wasn't even too revealing was ridiculous. My sister tried defending herself and my parents, but my brother put a stop to it right there. He mentioned all the times mom, dad, and her would always nitpick my outfits growing up, never allowing me the freedom to have my own personality or style. It wasn't about her, it was about me and how I feel. That shut her up. All I wanted was for her to see how it feels for me. Always being knocked down when I have something good going on in my life. Always feeling like a second-class citizen in the family. Never living up to their expectations. Not wanting to be the dutiful daughter anymore. And wanting to make my own choices and living the life that I want. And it doesn't include covering myself up from the neck down. My boobs were no longer up for discussion. If they can't be happy that I am still willing to be a part of the family, then so be it. And that went for her as well. I laid it all out. If she can't support me against my parents, then I would have to cut her out too. I also mentioned how being cut out of Christmas because of my stunt at the wedding was uncalled for. I told her if she wants to side with mom and dad, that's fine, but I will no longer accept toxic behavior. We are all grown-ups and should act that way. No more involving people into family drama." She agreed. She said she would talk to mom and dad on my behalf because as of right now, I am blocked by them. My brother, on the other hand, decided to be petty. He's planning a family Easter get-together and is going to invite everyone except my parents. He might go over there in the morning to see them and talk some sense into them, but he's not holding his breath on them realizing their mistakes. So as of right now, I have both siblings on my side, but we will see for how long that lasts. If I have a blowout with my parents in the future, I will update. But as of right now, I guess this is all I can give. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, "Don't be so sure about your sister. She may tell her parents what's going on, or give in to them. Best to have a plan ready in case they rock up at Easter." Opie replied, "If it happens, I know never to trust her again." Commenter 2 says, "Your brother is awesome. It must be nice having him have your back." Opie replied, "He wasn't around a lot when I was growing up, 10-year age gap. I'm guessing he saw my parents' toxic behavior way before I did. So I guess this is his way of being there for me now." Update 2. I'm done with my parents. For real, I am done. I was hoping to have an update for you guys after Easter, and well, it happened sooner than expected. I'm shaking while I write this for you lovely potatoes. Get the vodka shots, tea, or whatever you need to get through this drama with me. My parents have gone off the deep end. They are trying to convince me to move into a facility for mentally and physically disabled people. On top of the PCOS diagnoses I got at 13, I was also born with spina bifida. I didn't mention it in my previous post because I didn't think it was relevant, but apparently it is. They came over to my apartment yesterday under the guise of wanting to work out things from the wedding 8 months ago. It went as well as you'd expect. They acknowledged that what they asked of me at the wedding was out of line, and I thought that was the end of it. Wrong. Towards the end of their visit, they pulled out some documents for me to read. On the top, it was a form to make them my medical proxy, and in the event of their deaths, my sister would become my medical proxy. When I flipped the page to read more of the document, I saw a pamphlet for a group home facility tucked neatly in the middle. I picked up the pamphlet and read it out loud to them. They looked at me, expected me to agree right away. They forget I am no longer their dutiful daughter. I chuckled and flung the pamphlet across the table. How dare they? I was so angry I told them to take their paperwork and leave. They looked as though I stabbed them in the back repeatedly. They tried explaining to me that once they are gone, I won't have anyone to take care of me. I told them I have my boyfriend of 5 years and my brother and sister if I needed help. I don't need a facility. I've been living on my own for 20 years. I don't need help. I've done a pretty good job of living on my own and doing things for myself. I pay my bills on time and never once been evicted. The only medical emergency I've had in the last 20 years is when I had a gallbladder attack and I called 911. They just kept saying we are looking out for you. How long do you expect your boyfriend to stay once he realizes how much it takes to take care of you? They downplayed my relationship like it was just a phase in my life. To be clear, it is not a phase. He asked me to move in with him at the end of April, which my parents have no idea about because, well, we haven't been on speaking terms in 8. I told them firmly to leave or I would be calling the cops on them for trespassing. They were no longer my parents and to leave immediately. My mom was crying. My dad looked like he wanted to bury me 8 feet under my floor. They left without another word, but left the paperwork on my table. In a fit of rage, I tore up the papers and threw them in the trash. I was blaring music and throwing things into boxes when my brother and sister came into my apartment. I guess they got frantic calls from our parents saying I lost my mind and they were afraid I might do something stupid. I guess my parents didn't shut my front door all the way, so when they showed up and heard the music blaring, they honestly thought I was doing something dumb. I didn't see them coming in, so when I noticed my brother and sister standing at my bedroom door, I screamed like a banshee and threw a book at my brother's head. After realizing it was just my siblings, I walked over to them and hugged them both tightly. After the hugs, my brother asked me what was wrong. Without any words, I walked over to the trash can and pulled out the paperwork I threw out and showed him. The first words spoken were from my sister. She said she knew they were controlling, but this was a whole new level. My brother, ever the rock to us siblings, who I will refer to as Zeus, turned me towards him and told me we will fight this together. What started as a debate over a damn dress had now escalated to this disaster. My sister, who I will call Athena, stood strong beside me and was giving me reassuring shoulder squeezes. My brother advised me to speak to a lawyer just in case my parents escalate and sending the cops or adult protective services to my home. I wouldn't be worried if I didn't think my parents weren't capable, but I'm not so sure anymore. Athena, in the meantime, told me to get all my medical records updated to show that my spina bifida hasn't worsened to a significant degree. We also came up with a plan to get my therapist to write a note saying I am of sound mind and I am not a risk to myself or others. My siblings also advised me to move in with my boyfriend sooner than planned. So the plan is to move in this weekend with my boyfriend. To say my boyfriend was pissed not about me moving in with him sooner, but what my parents tried to pull, I had to spend 30 minutes on the phone with him so he wouldn't go on a rampage. He was so pissed when I mentioned how my parents described our relationship. I could tell he was on the verge of exploding. He also gave me an idea to get an IQ test done so I can prove I'm not as disabled as my parents will try and claim I am to put me into a facility. After a few hours and making lists of all the things I needed to get in order, my brother decided it would be best if he stayed the night to protect me in case officials showed up at my door. And to all who is wondering, my brother is no longer inviting my parents to Easter at his house. As of this morning, he and I both cut our parents off. He had a long, drawn-out conversation with them on speaker, so I can hear when he confronted them about what they did to me. Let's just say my parents think they are in the right, and that I just don't understand their concern. I understand completely. They want me to be locked away so they can portray the perfect image which I apparently do not fit into. As for my sister, I'm not asking my sister to cut my parents off. That will be her decision, but I am no longer comfortable being in their presence. As of now, I am still invited to Easter with my brother and his kids, and maybe some cousins and aunts and uncles, but it's still up in the air if I will attend. Because knowing my parents, they will most likely crash the party and make a scene. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, when I was talking about the gotcha being a kick in the guts, I did not even remotely envisage that. Your parents are absolutely awful human beings. Wait for them to start screaming about grandparents' rights and kicking your door down if you ever decide to have kids. Don't let your sister or your parents know where you live. Opie replied, I thankfully have no children. God forbid if I did, they would try anything to have them taken away, claiming I'm an unfit parent. But I would never do what they are currently doing to me. I'm happy to be the wild hippie auntie to my sister and brother's kids. Commenter 2 says, they what? But why? I understand you and your siblings say your parents are controlling, but this makes no sense. You're 41. Spina bifida doesn't affect your intelligence or your ability to make your own decisions. And if you live in a country with proper medical care and control, then I don't understand why they think you're incapable of making your own decisions. What? I reread your previous posts because I had some memory of them, but not a lot. I still don't understand, where did this come from? Are they in their sound mind? Because I checked for dementia or something. I swear I don't understand why they do that. I'm not saying your parents are nice people, nor am I saying they're not super controlling. You've covered that already a lot, but I still can't understand why and why now so weird. But you are doing the right thing following your siblings' advice and moving with your safe person. It's the best you can do. Good for you for cutting out those insane parents of yours. Opie replied, they are losing their grip on me. They were used to me bending to their will on all things because I was shy and not confident at all. But after going to therapy, I realized that I need to make decisions for myself and stand up to bullies. Over the past 10 years, I've come into my own confidence and no longer deal with bullies. That is why. They've pulled similar things in the past that I overlooked and just laughed off, not taking it seriously, but now I know better. Commenter 3 says, not the asshole. Someone needs to ask them who they'll call for help when they need it in their older year. Older years aren't that far off, to be honest. They have alienated 2 of their 3 children already. Opie replied, they think my sister will still be around. They barely acknowledge my brother's kids and spoil the crap out of my sister's kids. But I have a feeling she will no longer deal with them. Commenter 4 says, I am so sorry. They are insane. If it's not on the list, change your phone number. Also, when you do a change of address, do it to a P.O. box so they won't know where you live. If they continue to try and harass you, talk to an attorney. Commenter 5 says, don't give in to your parents. I'm glad you have a strong support system. Talk to a lawyer and make sure you have everything in place to be sure they can't get control over your life.